Welcome back to the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us on a Tuesday evening anyway. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do any baseball today, but with football coming up, we wanted to make sure we got into some football stuff today. We'll do our division predictions tomorrow, along with Super Bowl predictions, all of those kinds of things. So make sure you join us for that. Appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you very much. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alrighty, so as you can see, we're going to do ESPN yet again. We tried to do a salary cap league late last night, but unfortunately weren't enough people interested in doing this auction type draft. So we're going to go ahead and start off with that type of a draft today. We're going to do PPR, as I mentioned before. Kind of gotten into that over the last 5 or 6 years. It's now the ESPN standard scoring anyway. We've also played fantasy for 20 years, so we're no beginners, so we're going to go ahead and do pro. I use ESPN.com for fantasy. If you guys use Yahoo or whatever else you guys use out there for fantasy, go ahead and sign up for your leagues right now. Welcome in, Declan. Appreciate you joining us. But let's go ahead and get a league started here. We're going to go ahead and, like I said, do a salary cap league auction type draft. And hopefully we can get a full league, or a whole lobby anyway, filled up pretty quickly. There we go. Alrighty. I already got 5 teams in this league. Looks like we might have dropped one, unfortunately. Between those two, give me the upside of Jefferson. I think Kupp will probably end the season with more points, but I think it's you have a chance to have the best wide receiver in fantasy with Jefferson. I think Kupp is assuredly a top 5 guy, and Jefferson's numbers should actually go up this year compared to what he did last year, and that's saying something. But I really like Justin Jefferson. Just remember, the Rams are going to have a new offensive mind anyway working back there besides Sean McVay. Kevin O'Connell came over from the Rams to the Vikings, so he's going to bring that type of offense to Minnesota. They're no longer going to be a run first offense. It's going to be a pass first offense. That's why Kirk Cousins is likely to pass 40 touchdowns this year. They're likely to support at least 2 very fantasy relevant receivers anyway in Justin Jefferson and Thielen. 7 is the worst spot to pick. I'm okay with 7 just because that's where usually you get either a drop coming to you, but if you don't get anybody to drop, 7 is pretty bad. But 6 I've heard is the worst spot. I just don't like drafting in the middle of a round. So if I can avoid, picks 4, 5, 6, 7, that would be great for me. I prefer drafting either at the beginning of a round or the end of a round just because I like to have back-to-back picks. Just makes it easier for me to figure out which player I want to target where. I think we're going to have to wait another 5 minutes here because we didn't get a final team in there. Darn it. Yeah, I might actually opt out of this league just because there's a couple of people who know each other in this league, it looks like. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave this one. No, thank you. I do not need to worry about, cheating and all that kind of thing. We'll give it 5 seconds to see if anybody else joins, and then we'll create or join another one. 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dang it! Sorry, Mr. Valone, I do not want to be in your league. AJ is flying up the rankings. I know I'm an Eagles fan, but having a top 15 fantasy wide receiver is a blessing for Eagles fans, especially a top 10 quarterback. Well, you're going to have a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I just don't know outside of AJ Brown if that offense is going to be able to support another fantasy relevant player. I like AJ Brown, the receiver. I think he's going to do well in Philadelphia. Am I a fan of the Eagles? Absolutely not. I'm a Cowboys fan, but I can see why there is hope for, the future there in Philadelphia. If Hurts actually does prove the doubters wrong, me being one of them, Philadelphia really could have something. But Philadelphia set itself up just in case Hurts falters this year to be able to reach for a quarterback in the draft next year. So that tells me the front office is hedging its bets next year just in case Hurts isn't able to command the offense like everybody in Philadelphia and as a fan of the Eagles this year is. Trust me, as a Cowboys fan, I hear all the heat we've been getting every single day since we ended this season last year. I understand they don't necessarily have the key pieces they had last year, Lyle Collins, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, Randy Gregory, all out the door. But it's still the NFC East. And are we saying Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback, football, not necessarily fantasy, but football, than Dak Prescott? I don't know about that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do salary cap just to see if we got a different league this time. We do. Got a minute and a half here. I don't think we're going to get it. We're going to go ahead and skip this. We're just going to do a snake. We'll just start off with a snake league, I suppose. Hope for better luck. After this draft, anyway. Appreciate you guys joining us. If you're just joining us for the first time, hit that like button, subscribe. Send us any questions you have about your league. Go ahead and draft along with us. However you want to draft, ESPN, Yahoo, etc. I heard there's another one called Underdog or something like that. I'm sure there's a number of different fantasy football sites out there, but ESPN probably will always be my favorite. I just got really used to the format, and yeah, I'm not changing. Well, I mean, it's all in how you use them, I suppose. I mean, Miles Sanders has all the talent in the world, but even he's telling you not to pick him for fantasy this year because he knows how that offense is going to work with him. Sounds like he's not going to have a very big role in that offense, even if he is the lead back. Sounds like Jalen Hurts is going to be doing a lot of running as the quarterback. So I would not expect a big year for Miles Sanders. It's Philadelphia. I mean, ever since Miles Sanders was drafted, they haven't known how to use running backs. Even before that, you look back to the days of Ryan Matthews and those kind of players. Jordan Howard. There's a very long list of running backs that had a lot of promise with Philadelphia, performed well, but not necessarily as well as you would have liked. The last really good one would probably be LaShawn McCoy. Before that, Staley, Westbrook, those kind of players. Looks like our league is now open. Let's go ahead and enter the league. Let's hope for anything other 4, 5, 6, or 7, and at least we got the third pick. Not bad. So at this spot, we'll probably either have McCaffrey fall to us, or we'll get our pick of the litter of the receivers. So where do you guys think we should go with this draft? Do you think we should go with Eckler? Looking at where the draft is going to cycle around to us again. Hoping for Kelsey and Connor probably with our second round and third round picks. Maybe Jones, T. Higgins, those type of guys. I don't think I've drafted Cooper Kupp in a league yet this year. I don't think I have, anyway. This will be our 13th team under this profile, anyway. I think I've done about 11 of these with you guys, including this one. Appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you very much. Go ahead and sign up for a league. Draft alongside of us. We're doing a snake draft, 10-team league. ESPN.com, PPR. And as I mentioned, tomorrow we'll do our predictions for all the divisions out there in the NFL, do our Super Bowl picks as well. And then Thursday, as soon as I get off of work, we'll do a live with the Rams and Bills game. I will probably be a little late to that one. I do not get off work, unfortunately, until 7:15, 7:30. I think that's pretty much when the game starts, actually. Hopefully the pregame festivities run a little long, and I can join you guys just as kickoff is going. Alrighty. First pick, Josh Allen. Wow. It's going to be that kind of a league, guys. Christian McCaffrey's there. Pretty much have to take him. In case you're wondering why I did a facepalm anyway, Josh Allen should not be the first overall pick in your draft in a 10-team standard league. Yeah, don't do that. He should be going in round 4 or 5, at the very earliest in round 3, and that's if every single player you possibly could take in round 3 isn't worth it, and so you just want to lock up the best quarterback. To take him number 1, first round pick, with Jonathan Taylor sitting there and every other player at your disposal, colossal mess up. I would say something else, but again, this is YouTube. Jeez. Well, I guess that just means the rest of us will get some decent players. Got a couple of auto drafts. There goes Patrick Mahomes really early. Yuck. I mean, Najee Harris or Dalvin Cook's going to be there in round 2. Okay. Dang, somebody took Kamara before him. Now, I'd really like to have Debo fall to me, but with the auto drafts, he's definitely not going to be there. Stephon Diggs has an outside chance to get to me. Well, and there he goes. There goes Najee. Fournette, thank you. I really hope Debo would make it, but he's not going to. So close. See if we see another reach here. Come on, person, make your pick. Yep, there goes Debo. Well, Joe Mixon is steady Eddie at the running back spot. I don't necessarily want him, though. I still like Connor and Jones more than him. Kelsey's probably my favorite player left on the board, even ahead of Joe Mixon. Just looking at the numbers. I mean, Mixon is pretty good. Let me just look at his numbers last year. Look at those numbers. Those are pretty gaudy numbers. How many games over 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. How many over 30? A couple. And a couple of single pointers. I still think Kelsey's going to be a target monster in that offense. So I'm going to go ahead and take Kelsey here. There goes Tyreek. There goes Mixon. And Aaron Jones. That's just fine. My favorite running back is still left on the board at this point. I still like CeeDee Lamb, but I need a receiver. I do. The choices for receiver for me would be Lamb and Higgins. Not going to do it, though. I'd rather have the surefire red zone rushing attempts that Connor's going to have. Now, that does put me in a little bit of a pinch for Week 13 as far as the bye week. We'll have to see how things fall, though. All right, looking at our next selection, we got to look down here. Nick Chubb is in this range. I already have a couple of runners, though. Waddle's likely to be available. Deontay Johnson. Kyle Pitts. Sutton and Judy. Probably be the reaches at that spot. I doubt Higgins or Moore get there, but if they are, that'd be a fantastic number one receiver with this team. There goes Keenan and Javonte. Now we've got at least 3 to 4 auto picks in between here. So DJ Moore is definitely going to come off the board before my pick. Yep, there goes Higgins. I mean, I like A.J. Brown and the receiver. I know, Declan, you like him, but I don't necessarily like him as my wide receiver number one, and other teams are drafting him as their number 1 or 2 receiver. I would rather have Jalen Waddle as my number 1 instead of A.J. Brown. Outside of that, though, then you're getting into some real reaches outside of that. Come on now. Make your selection, buddy. Nick Chubb's probably the last top end running back left, and there he goes. Very happy Akers is off the board. Just hoping Waddle falls to me. He will very easily be my next selection if he's on the board. If he does go off the board, Deontay Johnson, Kyle Pitts, players like that would probably be my next options, even though I already have Travis Kelce. But we're hoping for Waddle. There goes Cooks, and there goes Kyle Pitts. Thank you for leaving me Waddle. There goes Deontay Johnson. All right, now with our next pick, I could use another wide receiver. The Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy group could be interesting to me. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gabe Davis, Elijah Mitchell. There goes Brown. Ezekiel Elliott is still on the board. I don't want to count on him, though, this year. He's probably the best point producer left on the board, though. I still think I can get running backs later in the draft as my number 2 and 3, as my number 3 and 4 running backs. So I don't need to invest in Elliott here. I don't like Metcalf or Brown this year. Sutton's probably the safer play. Judy's probably the higher ceiling. but one of these two. If I take one, the other will definitely be gone by my next pick. Dobbins would be a great number 3 back, but I don't need him. I need some steady production at my wide receiver spot, so I'm going to go with Sutton. Yeah. I really would rather have Jerry Jeudy, but that'd only be if I had a better number 1 receiver. As it stands, I've got Waddle as my number 1. Now, if I had Justin Jefferson as my number 1, then yeah, I'd go Jerry Jeudy instead of Sutton in that spot. Got 13 picks left until my next one. So we're probably going to be looking in this neighborhood of player Elijah Mitchell, Waller, Kittle, Lamar Jackson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Adam Thielen, all players I really like this year. Christian Kirk, Allen Robinson, also good options. Come on, Mully, it shouldn't take you this long to pick every single time out. There goes Breece Hall. Gabe Davis has an outside chance to still be on the board when we get up next. Herbert's likely gone. And there goes Kittle and Herbert. Looking at my roster so far, I got the number 1 tight end in Kelsey. Got the number 2 running back in McCaffrey. Got probably the number 7 running back in Connor. Wow, there goes Brady really early. Jeudy is still on the board, surprisingly. He likely goes here. Wow. Let's go ahead and look at the quarterbacks. One of the quarterbacks I really like this year is Jalen Hurts. I'm going to go ahead and put him in my queue. I don't think I'm going to take him with this pick, but if he's there at my next one, very possible. As far as running backs, there's like 5 that are in between me and my next 2 options here. There goes Jacobs. And Jerry Jeudy has fallen to me. Wow. I think I take Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Gabe Davis is there. I think I gotta take Jerry Jeudy, honestly. The value's too insane for me. I don't like doubling up on an offense, but at least this way I have the number 1 receiver in that offense no matter what with Sutton or Jeudy. My bye weeks aren't too bad. Let's go ahead and lock him up. There goes Kyler. Gabe Davis is still there. I do need some running backs at this point. Elijah Mitchell's still there. I'm going to go ahead and do the quarterback, though, with Jalen Hurts to make sure I get the quarterback I want. and then just hope the board falls my way. Okay, so welcome back, DeAndre. Final fantasy draft tomorrow. I don't know what spot I'm going to get though. How would you approach the first 5 rounds? If I was picked 6 through 11, 1 through 5. 1 through 5, take the best player on your board. I mean, if you're looking at, you pick 1, you take Taylor. Pick 2, you pick McCaffrey. Pick 3, I would probably go with Justin Jefferson. Pick 4, I'd probably go with Eckler. Pick 5, I'd probably go with Cooper Kupp. Outside of that, 6 through 10 anyway. If there's somebody left in picks 6 through 8, that'd probably go there. If nobody's left there, then I'd probably go, probably get your players that you really like. Najee Harris, Deebo Samuel, that kind of thing. Maybe double up on that spot. Dalvin Cook. And then as you go later in the draft, make sure you get your locks to your most steady players in rounds 1 through 3, and then go for a little bit of a home run after that. You don't want to go, for instance, like Brandon Cooks. He's going to be a steady point producer for you, probably get you anywhere from 10 to 15 points a game, something like that. But if you're expecting, him to be a 30-point producer every now and again, no. Yeah, I assume PPR. I still like, even Dalvin Cook this year out of Minnesota should see an increase in his production. Not necessarily as much as I would like, but still should be a nice point producer for you. This board is getting a little scary for me. I'm really wanting Juju Smith-Schuster, Thielen, and Dameon Pierce. Pierce has a chance to fall to me just because there's still a couple of running backs ahead of him on the board. But now we're starting to get a little slim pickings before that. He's the 3rd best running back with 9 picks left between us. That's a little scary. Just hoping we see a run on quarterbacks, tight ends. Now he's the 2nd best runner. Stop taking running backs. Wow, somebody reached for Gibson. Okay. There goes Juju. Thielen and Kirk are probably the top 2 receivers left on the board, in my opinion. Pierce is probably my next pick because I need to beef up my running back room. Probably wait till round 12 to get a backup quarterback just because I went a little bit early with Hurts. Earlier than I usually would. And I got Kelsey, so I don't need to worry about my tight ends. But as long as these other teams start taking some tight ends, I'll be happy to see them go. Ertz is the only one left of real value on the board. Now Damien's the best running back left. No! I have a really bad feeling he's about to come off the board. It's one of the few leagues I won't have him in. I'd be more than happy to see these receivers go before him. There goes Kareem. Thank you. Whew, got lucky. There goes Thielen. Now, as far as receivers left on the board, nobody that's really calling out to me. I could go with Burrow here at the backup quarterback spot. I think I'm going to set my lineup a little bit better. Lock up Dillon possibly. None of these receivers really excite me. Rashad Bateman might be the best one of the group. Elijah Moore, anyway, has a chance to be a decent wide receiver this year. But I don't want to have to count on them and miss out on guys like A.J. Dillon, Joe Burrow, those type of players. And my bye week isn't terrible for my wide receivers, so I should be fine. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take Dillon with my next pick. Go ahead and lock up my running backs. There goes Michael Carter. Thank you for A.J. Dillon. Okay. Now I could go for Hopkins here as my fourth receiver. More bye week issues for week 13, but that doesn't matter at the wideout spot for me. Lazard could be interesting, but I don't want him. I think he's probably going to end up as the third receiver by the end of the season in Green Bay. I think both of the rookies overtake him on the depth chart. Not necessarily anything against him, it's just how he works best in that offense. And you're still going to have Randall Cobb and those type of players, the ghost of Sammy Watkins. Just waiting for these picks now. Just wish they'd be a little bit faster, honestly. We got enough auto drafts that this should be a lot faster of a draft. We're only at 39 minutes, though, and we're about to see us go into the 10th round here in just a moment. Dak Prescott comes off the board. Probably going to take Joe Burrow with my next pick, if he's still available, and he is. He's probably the safest quarterback left on the board. A little bit of a run on running backs there. I got the guy I want, though. See if Mully can pick quickly this time. They have Rodgers. They reached a little bit for him. Really don't like this roster outside of Austin Eckler, though. The auto draft, they don't have a quarterback, so they're going to take Russell or Burrow, whichever one's still left. But they have a really nice roster. Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Pitts. That's elite production. And then CeeDee Lamb. Wow. Now the running back could use some work with Josh Jacobs as your second best runner, but they got Zeke. They got a ton of receivers on this team, though. We'll go ahead and take Burrow. See what this team did. Yeah, nothing really exciting on that one. Now you remember Josh Allen was taken number 1 overall. Just to take a look at how their roster turned out, they came back in round 2 and 3 and picked Mixon and Jones. Round 4 and 5 picked Williams and St. Brown. 6, Edwards-Helaire. 7, Goddard. 8, Ayuk. Don't really like this roster, though. It did take D-Hop. That was possibly going to be my next pick. I'm going to go ahead and take Romeo here. I do like Trey Lance, but looking at my roster, I already have Burrow and Jalen Hurts anyway, so I don't need to invest in a third quarterback. Even though I think Lance could finish as a top 5 quarterback this year, I don't need to spend the draft pick to do it. My 5th running back will be Raheem Mostert this year in most of my leagues. Now, if you're looking for a way to finagle an extra roster spot out of your team, you could draft players that are injured for week 1. Say, like Michael Gallup is not going to play week 1 for the Cowboys. You draft him in your draft, you move him to IR immediately after your draft, then you go to your waiver wire and just pick up whatever pieces are left. Say, if you want to pick up a backup quarterback or if you want to stream your defense that week, the open roster spot, you can do that. Not really. I like the production I'm getting out of McCaffrey and Connor and Kelsey. Though that's kind of my pass catching option there instead of going wide receiver earlier. Waddle I still think is very nice wide receiver 1 upside this year, and then I've got the best of the Denver wide receiver spot, so I'm not too worried about that. And then of course I've got Dameon Pierce, who's probably going to be my flex week in and week out as the season goes on. I think he's going to be a top 20 fantasy running back this year. Alright, so I could take the extra roster spot, go ahead and take Gallup here, and I will. I want the roster flexibility after this draft is over. I'll show you guys what I'm going to do with it. Raheem Mostert's going to be my next pick as long as he's still there. And he is for now. Broncos defense is probably going to be my defense early on. Just because look at their schedule for the first couple weeks. Week 1, they go to Seattle and face Geno Smith. Week 2, they're at home against Davis Mills. And while I think Davis Mills is no slouch as a quarterback like most people think he is, they're still going to eat against that Houston Texans offense. All right. We're going to go ahead and take Mostert. Do I think Gallup should be on my roster right now? No. But I'm going to go ahead and put him on my IR, and just in case the Cowboys, say he's the CeeDee Lamb on this offense in week 3 or 4 for last year for the Cowboys, and CeeDee Lamb's now Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup's going to have real value if that happens. I don't expect it to, but if he does, at least he's on the end of my bench. No other team can get him. Getting this late in the draft. Let's go ahead and flip over to defense. 49ers are the only other season-long defense worth drafting, honestly. The Bills, number 1, 49ers, 2. Outside of that, stream your defense, buddy. The 49ers are there. I do think I want another receiver, though. I think Pickens is off the board. Let me just make sure. Nope, he's still there. Should I go ahead and take him? I still got one bench spot left. He may make it to free agency. I'm going to go ahead and go with Henderson, the running back, instead. He has a tendency to be drafted a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and take Henderson first. All right. 49ers defense, like I said, is the only other one possibly worth keeping in season long. He's still there. And McManus is still there. Would I rather have the 49ers defense or McManus? Probably McManus. Just because I think he's going to be gone by my next pick. And honestly, I'd rather play the Broncos defense anyway. Got a lot of auto drafts in this thing now. Go ahead and cue it. So looking at my roster, we went with McCaffrey with our first. We took Kelsey and then Connor, followed by Waddle and then Sutton. Jalen Hurts, we went ahead and splurged there at quarterback, or at with Jerry Jeudy, and then we came back with Hurts. Luckily, Dameon Pierce was still there in like the 8th round or so, 8th round pick anyway. Came back with A.J. Dillon. Now, don't get me wrong, my receivers might be a little bit dicey, but I like my group that I have. I got some home run hitters down low, and I've got my steady eddies already up top. My running backs is where I'm going to make my hay, though. I'm probably going to play 3 running backs every single week with this team. In PPR leagues, that can be a deterrent. Would I rather have had Juju Smith-Schuster possibly? Would I rather have had Adam Thielen? Yeah, probably. But I like my running back group. I think they're going to cover a lot of those wide receiver deficiencies. And I'm only going to play 2 a week. Waddle's going to be one of them. He's going to be a target monster. And then if Sutton is, if Russell Wilson is to be believed, Sutton being his favorite, then I've got him. If the Denver Broncos end up trying to push the ball to Jerry Jeudy, I've got that option as well. Just got a couple of picks left until our final one. Stick around. We'll immediately show you guys what I did by drafting Michael Gallup in this draft. Because he's going to be out week 1, you can already move him to your IR. One player you cannot do that to is any suspended player. So if you wanted to carry Deshaun Watson, or if you wanted to go ahead and carry DeAndre Hopkins, he has to take up a roster spot for you. There's the team. Let's go ahead and go to the team page. First thing I'm going to do, click this button that says Manage IR. Scroll down. Michael Gallup's the only one on my roster eligible. Move to IR. Saved. Now I've got a bench spot available. Go to Players, Add Players. Now don't get me wrong, there's still going to be some people out here. And George Pickens is still there. Landry is still out there as well. That's kind of interesting. Jarvis Landry. I'm going to wait to see it before I believe it with the New Orleans Saints. Landry's been a disappointment in almost every single year, whereas Pickens here has the upside. I'm going to go ahead and take Pickens. And since I already have a roster spot available, I can just click Continue, Confirm. Now that move will go through tomorrow after all those players in the draft go through the cycle as well. Alright, so now let's look at the roster here just to see if I want to move anybody into the starting lineup. Probably going to leave it the way it is just because the Denver Broncos are going up against Seattle in week 1, and I think Jeudy and Sutton are both going to have monster games. Houston's going up against a decent defense in the Indianapolis Colts. The reason why I say decent and not great is because they changed their defensive coordinator in Eberflus, who went on to the Chicago Bears. So I want to see the Colts defense again be great before I believe in them again. A.J. Dillon, I think, is going to have a field day against the Minnesota Vikings at Minnesota. And that's just because Minnesota doesn't have a great defense anymore. Mike Zimmer's gone. It's more of an offensive-minded team. They're going to be in a lot more shootouts than they are, 13-10 final scores. Alrighty. So there's my roster right now, and as I mentioned, I put Gallup on the IR. I have that open bench spot that I'm going to hopefully get George Pickens. Now that we've drafted this team, let's go ahead and go back to the lobby, create another team, PPR, and we're going to go ahead and, should we go ahead and try a salary cap or another snake? That one was kind of fluky with Josh Allen going number 1, so we're going to go ahead and do a snake, I think. Go ahead and edit this team. There we go. Only one spot still available. We're up to 14 teams. Going to try to draft a full 25 before the season begins. And yes, I know that's a lot, but hey, it'll keep me up to date with fantasy. That way I can put out some fantasy stuff for you guys during the week. What? Somebody must have left. Dang it. Gotta wait another 5 minutes because somebody couldn't stay in. So how do you guys think that one went? Give me a grade. 1 to 10, 1 being worst, 10 being the best. I could do a little bit better at wide receiver, so I wouldn't give it a 10. And the league did start off with Josh Allen as the number 1 pick. So again, I can't give it a 10 just because of those two reasons, even if I did have the best of all-time rosters. Myself, I'd probably give it an 8, maybe a 7. My running back should be elite. I got it when it splurged a little bit on tight end and quarterback to make up for the losses I have at receiver. We'll see. But I have to give it an 8 probably. On the players that I just drafted, or total wide receivers? Got 2 minutes here, I'll kind of flip over. So, okay, so here's your number 1 receivers according to the rankings right now. Kupp, Jefferson, Chase, Adams, Samuel, Diggs, Lamb, Hill, Allen, and Higgins. A couple of players I'm taking out of that group. 1, CeeDee Lamb. As a Dallas Cowboy fan, I think he's still going to be great. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1. Maybe an outside chance to be a wide receiver 1, but I think he's a top-end wide receiver 2. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. I think Waddle's going to be have the better target share in that offense, and so I think that's going to drag him down into that 2 range. Whereas Waddle, I think, moves up. Same thing with T. Higgins. I think he actually moves up as well. I think that Cincinnati offense is going to support 2 number 1 fantasy wide receivers. Keenan Allen, I think, is going to take a step back as well this year. DJ Moore is going to have a monster year with the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he had Sam Darnold and Cam Newton throwing to him, and we're still drafting him as the number 12 receiver this year. I mean, going into the season, we were hoping Baker Mayfield might get some time in the preseason. Well, he won the job, obviously, from Baker Mayfield quite easily. Baker's got the job locked up now of Sam Darnold being out for a considerable length of time with injury, so he's got that job sewn up. He's going to have a consistent level of quarterback play. Matt Rule isn't going to be able to tinker around that quarterback spot and at halftime pull in, P.J. Walker or something like that. So I'm looking at DJ Moore and Jalen Waddle as the guys that could be wide receiver 1. Michael Pittman's going to have a great year compared to last year, and he was still pretty good. I still think he's going to be a top-end wide receiver 2, though. McLaurin and Brown should both be better than last year. I still think that they're more of a wide receiver 2. Waddle, though, as far as the rest of the receivers, he's the one guy left in here that has the chance to be a wide receiver 1. Did we have a guy leave again? Come on. All right, let's kind of flip and do the same thing with the running backs anyway. Top 10 running backs. Obviously, you got Taylor and McCaffrey as long as McCaffrey and Taylor both stay healthy. Eckler, I think, has a chance to be the number 1 running back. Derrick Henry, I think, is being drafted a little bit too high. Honestly, I'd probably draft him, as far as running backs, probably beneath Dalvin Cook. Maybe even beneath James Conner. I just think James Conner is going to be a top 10 running back this year. Aaron Jones, I think, should also be in that mix. Fournette, go ahead and drop him out of your top 30 running backs. I think his value is going to be this year. Leonard Fournette is not going to be a good fantasy running back. Book it. That offensive line is not going to be as good. Tom Brady, instead of running the ball into the teeth of a defense, is going to say, hey, why don't I just throw the ball to my running backs or wide receivers on quick screens, wide receiver screens, short passing game to make up for the running? And so that's why Leonard Fournette is not going to be that good. And I think they're going to opt for a more pass-catching running back in that offense. And Fournette, I think, is going to get a case of the drops. He hasn't always had great hands. He's had decent hands at times in the past with Brady. I just don't think he's good in that offense. I don't even think he finishes the year as one of the top 2 running backs in Tampa Bay, let alone one of the top 10 running backs in all of fantasy football. Draft room is now open. Just waiting for this draft to get underway, and we ended up with the number 6 pick. No! Yes, trade. If you can trade him for Dameon Pierce, do it. If you can trade him for A.J. Dillon, do it. I mean, that's how low I am on Fournette this year. I do not understand what the hype is, why he's being drafted so early, why he's even being ranked this high. I mean, just looking at the other running backs that I don't like, Saquon Barkley I'd probably still take ahead of him. Even with the injury issues, I absolutely do not like Saquon Barkley this year either. Cam Akers, I think, is 2 yards in a pile of dust. Henderson's probably going to take over that role. Rather have him. I mean, those are running backs that I really don't like that I'd rather have over Leonard Fournette. Ezekiel Elliott, if you can get him for him. Shoot, maybe there's another sucker in your league who will say, hey, Leonard Fournette, a 2nd-round pick. Let me give you Juju Smith-Schuster and, Ezekiel Elliott. Sign on the dotted line immediately. Both players are worth more than Leonard Fournette in my book. Watch the first pick be auto-draft. I think I've drafted with a couple of these guys. Team Kane was in one of mine. Keller was in one of mine last night. I think Bellard was too. But yeah, I would get away from Leonard Fournette. Run, don't walk, run. He might have a decent week 1, which is going to be fool's gold for other teams, so that could boost your trade value. He's going against the Cowboys defense. Cowboys haven't been great at stopping the run at all, even against poor running teams. So kind of keep that in mind. Other running backs to kind of fade this year, I already mentioned a couple of them, Saquon and Cam Akers. Those are probably 2 and 3 as far as the worst running backs to draft this early. Alvin Kamara would probably be number 4. I wouldn't want Kamara until probably after Nick Chubb. I think Kamara is just way too much value there. Way overvalued. Ooh, nice pick there, Austin Eckler. Interesting, interesting. Looks like I'm going to be left with a choice of receiver. I'm hoping Justin Jefferson falls, but I'll probably end up with Jamar Chase. Give me Jefferson. Oh! He went off the board and took Derrick Henry. All right. Well, as I said, this is the easy pick for me. Take Justin Jefferson. Now with my next pick, I want Deebo Samuel. Unlikely to fall to me, though. But here's hoping. So far, going pretty much chalk. Pick 15, probably looking at DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon possibly. Sign on the dotted line right now. Like I don't want Drake London on my team either, but Deontay Johnson is way better than Fournette's going to be this year. Deontay Johnson's probably a good wide receiver 2, maybe a flex wide receiver 3 this year, depending on how the other receivers do this year. Drake London's just a complete unknown, so do with it as you will. I mean, if he has another running back on his roster, say like A.J. Dillon, see if he can renegotiate the trade to include A.J. Dillon and Deontay Johnson instead. Joe Mixon, okay. That's one player that might help me get Deebo. Who are your other running backs in that league? Who's your second and third? I'm guessing Fournette was your number 1. Oh, Deebo's going to be gone. Please go off the board and take Fournette or Swift. Leave me one of Diggs and Samuel. I think it's true about what they say. The 6th pick is probably the worst. There goes Diggs and Samuel both. Dang. Well, I'm going to go ahead and reach here. Fournette, Williams, Swift are still on the board. I like James Conner more than all of those players. Zeke and Akers handcuffed too. As long as you got Henderson along with Akers, that's fine. Zeke is fine. Yeah, just see if you can get a better offer than Deontay. Okay, so looking at this pick, I like Swift, but he's an unknown for me. I can't count on him to be my number 1 running back. I'd rather have James Conner. Kelsey's the number 1 tight end left on the board. I'd be gambling to see if Conner and Jones fell to me. Kelsey's going to be gone by my next pick. Really don't like this draft spot. We're going to go ahead and go with Conner, I think. Alrighty. Let's see how this draft goes now that I made a little bit of a reach with Conner. At least for the draft board, anyway. There goes Kelsey, as expected. I'm hoping Jones falls to me now. I don't think he will, but he's the guy I want. T. Higgins, DJ Moore as well. Appreciate you guys joining us. Say hello. Let us know where you're drafting from. If you're doing an auction draft or a snake draft, who you like. Got 5 picks until my pick. I don't think Aaron Jones is going to make it, unless we see a run on receivers. There goes Andrews. I at least need a couple of receivers to go here. There goes Allen. That works. Somebody take Mike Evans, please. Saquon, okay. Leave me Aaron Jones. Either way, I got a good option in T. Higgins or Jones or Moore. I'm hoping Jones is there. If he's not, then I'll go with one of the receivers. Come on, take one of the receivers. Take Evans. Take Akers. Yes! Now, Jalen Waddle did come off the board, so that's a little scary for my second wide receiver. He probably would have been in contention for that spot. So I got to think about my next pick. T. Higgins would... Aaron Jones is just too good. I have to take him. T. Higgins is going to come off the board. Moore's going to be gone, very likely. So I'm going to be looking at possibly Nick Chubb, Deontay Johnson, Kyle Pitts for my next selection. I was really hoping Jalen Waddle would be there for my next pick, but oh well. Can't have it all. There goes Chubb. Probably the last running back I could take at that spot as well. That's fine. I already got 2 really good ones. 2 borderline top 10 running backs. It's fine. Stick to Cam Akers. Somebody take McLaurin. Somebody take Brown. Somebody take Pittman. I'm hoping for DJ Moore. If not, Deontay Johnson and Kyle Pitts. Josh Allen is still there. He's a possibility. I do not like investing in quarterback early, but this is about the dead zone of the draft for this pick. So if DJ Moore falls, great. If Deontay Johnson's there, great. If Pitts is there, great. If not, then I'm probably going to go with Allen. Come on, Keller, make a pick. There goes ETN. That's just fine. Running backs are being gobbled up at this point. I mean, the next best one is going to be David Montgomery and Zeke. So there are plenty of wide receivers left on the board right now. That's where the value is. A.J. Brown, that's just fine. I think he's a good number 2. There goes Allen. I have a chance to get DJ Moore. Yes! But losing Kyle Pitts hurts. So, looking at my roster so far, I've got all 4 of these players have an outside chance to be #1 options at their position. Jefferson, obviously, going to be one of the top 5 receivers this year, top 3 very likely. To me, Connor and Jones are both back in top 10 running backs this year, probably in that 8 to 10 range. Moore has a chance to be a 9 or 10th best receiver this year. I'm very happy with my draft so far. All the tight ends are pretty much gone except for George Kittle that have real value. Quarterback's starting to come off the board now too. Allen and Mahomes gone in the last 5 picks. There goes Herbert. That's just fine. Looking ahead to our next pick, we're probably going to be looking in the range of Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, J.K. Dobbins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gabe Davis, Elijah Mitchell. George Kittle is probably not going to be my 5th round pick, but could be in contention for my 6th round pick. Got 5 picks until my next one. Goes Breece Hall. DK Metcalf, steer away from him. Unless he's traded by the Seahawks, he's not going to have a good year. Unless they bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, which isn't going to happen, he's not going to have a good year. Just fade DK Metcalf. Probably going to finish as a wide receiver 3 or 4 this year. That passing offense is going to be very anemic. I think they're probably going to turn to Drew Lock just because they need somebody who can push the ball down the field. And we saw how he played against the Cowboys this preseason with multiple interceptions. Come on now, let's go. Kareem Hunt taken this early? Wow. Hmm. Alright, I'm on the clock. Looking at my running back options, J.K. Dobbins, probably the best one of the group left. I like Elijah Mitchell more. Well, not more, but very similarly. I think the best spot here is going to be Courtland Sutton. More steady production at the position. So I'm going to go ahead and take Sutton here. That locks up at least my wide receiver 3. So that when the next pick comes around, if Elijah Mitchell's still there, I can go that way. Or if he's gone, I could possibly go get my tight end in Kittle. If Judy's still there, I could go that route. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gabe Davis. We'll see. Pretty good draft so far. There goes Lamar. Let's just poke our head in on the quarterback carousel that's left. Looks like Jalen Hurts is the last one that I would want. Kyler Murray, I'm fading like nobody's business. Not that he's a bad quarterback, I just don't think there's any ceiling there at all. I think his floor is his ceiling. I think he's basically locked into right at about 280 to 300 points, and that's about it. Just got a few picks left until mine. Jerry Jeudy still on the board, surprisingly. If I get him as my 4th receiver, not bad. Right now, I'd probably go Jeudy 1, Mitchell 2, Amon-Ra 3, Gabe Davis 4, Kittle 5, Hurts 6. That's kind of where my board is at right now. There goes Hawkinson, that's just fine. There goes Jerry Jeudy. Kyler and Jacobs. So, Elijah Mitchell is still there. Amon-Ra St. Brown and George Kittle. Kittle's the last tight end that I would want left besides Ertz, and Ertz is much later in the draft. I don't think Waller's going to have that much of an increase like ESPN does. Kittle, I think, very well could. Kittle's kind of your safe bet at tight end to not screw it up for you every single week. I do need some more running backs. Hamstring issue for Mitchell, that kind of worries me. But I have to do it. We'll go ahead and take Mitchell here. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I've already got 3 receivers. There goes Kittle, of course, naturally, and Waller. So now I'm going to wait till probably round 10 for my next selection at tight end with Ertz. Nobody really drafts him very high. Of course, watch this be the one draft where he does. If that does happen, then I'll probably wait until the very end of the draft to go with the tight end and just stream one week to week. Would not be my preferred way to go. Jalen Hurts is the last good quarterback left, at least of the top 100 ranked ones anyway. I do like Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Trey Lance, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, and Russell Wilson as quarterbacks you could start if you had to. There goes Amon-Ra. Still some very good players left. Juju Smith-Schuster's still out there. Kirk's still out there. Allen Robinson. I think Hurts is my next pick. Then Pierce, and then Juju. If I had to guess, Hurts is probably gone here in the next few picks. Then it'd probably move around a little bit. Come on, let's go. You guys drafting along with us? You have back-to-back picks. You should know the route you want to go. Maybe you could trade somebody who had Kelsey instead, or somebody who's got Kyle Pitts. And Jalen Hurts has fallen to me. All right. That's not bad. All right, let's look at the running backs that are left. Pierce is the third best running back left on the board. At least according to draft rankings, etc. He's probably my next pick. Smart. I'd also look at possibly George Kittle, but you'd want more back than George Kittle. You should be able to get more back than George Kittle. Andrews, I think, is a little bit overvalued, so yeah, buyer beware on that one. I still think he's probably going to be one of the top 3 tight ends. Don't get me wrong, but Kelsey is a clear number 1. Pitts and Andrews, I think, are going to be 2 and 3. Honestly, the more I'm thinking about this way the season could go, I think Pitts is going to be an absolute target monster out of the Falcons. I mean, what else are they going to do? Mariota's got to find the ball or find a spot to throw the ball, and he's a big target that should be able to get open at any time. Just hoping Pierce gets to me in round 8. My receiver group could be a little bit thin here. Got to wonder about that as well. Pierce is not going to make it to my round 9, so I have to take him here with round 4 or with round 8. Then we could look at Zach Ertz in round 9. There goes Christian Kirk, one of the receivers I had my eye on still. Allen Robinson and Thielen are the last 2 that I like at this group. And then a whole bunch of nothing in between. Come on. Should not be taking you guys this long to draft. People just not paying attention. There goes Sanders. Just fine with that, but that's the last running back left before Pierce, I believe. There goes Brady. He was one of the top 5 quarterbacks I have on my board. There goes Robinson. The last wide receiver I like is Thielen. Got about 50 seconds here till I pick. There goes Gibson. That's just fine. Give me Pierce. Whole bunch of auto picks between me and the next one. No way Thielen makes it. There's an outside chance Ertz doesn't even make it. There goes Wilson. Goddard. Probably going to do what I did in the last draft with Gallup, just to get the extra roster spot. See if you can do a stack, Lamar and Andrews. Just be careful. Lamar didn't work too well with Andrews last year. It was Hundley who worked well with Andrews last year, not Lamar. Andrews last year with Lamar was about a 5th, 6th best tight end in fantasy. Once Hundley came in, he had his 5 biggest games of the season. I mean, Andrews is still a rock star of a tight end, don't get me wrong. And if you're locking up at least the 6th best tight end, great. I mean, it is Fournette you're giving up, so I wouldn't expect the moon in return. We're going to go ahead and take Ertz here. Burrow could be my next selection. Lance, Hopkins, A.J. Dillon, Rodgers could be in consideration. There we go. That's pretty much it. You can kind of see my queue there on the side. That is not necessarily the order I would take them in. Dillon's probably my number 1 target on that list. Come on, Keller, let's go. Why is it these wraparound picks are taking so long? Usually they're so fast. You should know who you're taking. When you have 2 back-to-back picks, you're looking at one guy for sure, and then you're thinking about 2 or 3 guys for your other pick. Looks like I'm going to get my pick of my backup quarterback. But I still would rather have A.J. Dillon, so I'm going to take him. Come on, man. Shouldn't take a full 3 minutes for both of your picks. leave A.J. Dillon alone. You can take Ramondre, you can take Harris. Just leave A.J. Dillon alone. Tony, that's even better. Give me A.J. Dillon. He'll be my 5th running back on my roster. I don't care that I only have 3 receivers. I got 3 good ones. Come on, come on, come on. There goes Freiermuth. There's Damian Harris and Dak. It's fine by me. Give me A.J. Dillon. Thank you very much. And now I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose out on my top choice for backup quarterback with Joe Burrow. We'll see how it goes. Still got Raheem Mostert out there. Hopkins, probably my top receiving option left. Rashad Penny's still out there. Let's go ahead and cue Gallup, Mostert. And Henderson. Okay. I'm wondering if Roll Tide actually was looking at Dillon. He usually is decently fast at taking a pick. If I had to guess, yes. Now we get to see some picks. Let's go. Hopkins, probably my next selection. Maybe Trey Lance. Don't really have a backup quarterback yet. Looking at the quarterbacks left, Trey Lance is definitely the best option on the board by a mile. Two keeper PPR. Mooney. I'm out on Michael Thomas by a lot. Give me Mooney in third. Oh, Hopkins is off the board. Okay. That's fine. That makes my decision a little bit easier, as long as Roll Tide doesn't take Lance. He takes Claypool, that's just fine. Give me Trey Lance as my backup. Welcome back, Axis. Appreciate you joining us. Just checking out my roster. I don't really have any major holes on my roster right now. I could use another receiver at this point. I'm going to double up on receiver with Gallup and Dubes, I believe, just like I did in the last draft. Then move Gallup to my IR spot, and I'll show you guys again just to see who's left. And pick up a waiver wire addition. I like Raheem Mostert this year. I like Darrell Henderson. I've got 5 good running backs, though. I mean 5 good ones. Connor, Jones, Mitchell, Pierce, and Dillon. That's my 5 running backs. I'm good. I'd rather have Dillon over most of those running backs in the 40s and 50s of ESPN's ranks. More than ETN, honestly, more than Montgomery. I think Montgomery's going to get more work, but I think if Jones goes down, Dillon has potential to be a top 10 runner. Bateman and Pitts would be phenomenal. Andrews and Penny would be pretty good. I like both of those trade offers. Pretty good. All right, looking at my pick here. Let's go ahead and take Gallup. Gonna go ahead and put Romeo. Gonna cue him, as well as Pickens. Now Pickens is more likely to reach free agency, so I'm going to go ahead and draft ahead of him. I think everybody hears the noise coming out of Green Bay as far as Romeo. Now, same thing with George Pickens, but there's more targets for Pickens or for Pickett and Trubisky to throw to there. Claypool, Johnson, Freiermuth, Harris. They took Raheem. Dang it. Well, that pretty much just means Romeo and Henderson are probably my next two selections. Let's just look at the running back board just to see who's left on it. Not a lot. Receivers, not a lot either. Go ahead and give me Romeo. I already have 5 good runners. I need to lock up receiver first. Now, if I get Henderson to fall to me, great. I'd go ahead and take him. Looking at the defenses that are left on the board, the only other one I think that's worth keeping in season long would be the 49ers defense that's left on the board. I like the Broncos defense. I like to stream my defenses a little bit more. I think they're going to have a higher point production in week 1 and week 2, and then I can come back around in week 3 and pick another defense. Kicker, McManus is probably my favorite of the ones left, followed by Butker, Gay, Carlson, Prater, in whatever order you see fit. But McManus would be my favorite out of that group. Come on, people, let's go. There goes Gainwell. Really hoping Henderson makes it. I think my running back room with this one, especially when you consider I didn't take a running back number 1, might be the best running back room in all of fantasy football. This is probably the best I've done at running back. And I usually load up on runners, but this is a special one. Connor and Jones, Mitchell and Pierce. Mitchell and Pierce could be a decent 1 and 2 running back system on a team that drafts running backs in the first and second round and a tight end in the third. Mitchell and Pierce could be the starter in that type of a lineup. That's how good my 3 and 4 are. Then I still have Dillon, and I might end up here with Henderson as well. Henderson could be the starting running back in LA by week 6. Come on, Keller, you're taking 3 minutes yet again. Now you should know who you're picking at this point. Pick. Come on, people. Appreciate you guys joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. It really does help us out. Thank you for following to me, Henderson. My bench is all sewn up. All that's left now is just going after my defense and tight end. Or defense and kicker, excuse me. Couple of good bye week fill-ins there. Carr and Cousins going off the board. I do not think either one should be rostered, though. There's no point in keeping a backup quarterback like that on your roster. You're never going to play him over your starter. Never. McManus is my next selection, I believe. Gay is a little bit higher rated. Does have a very nice floor. I might mix it up and go Gay here, just to have a different kicker than my other leagues. We'll see which one is left for me here. If both of them are left, I might just wait until the next round. And they both are, so I will wait until the next round, and I'll go ahead and take the Broncos D. There goes Gay. Still got 3 kickers left that I really like. Well, 4 if you count Prater. I do not want to be left with Mason Crosby again, though. I've been left with him in a couple of different leagues. Week 1 of the NFL should be very interesting for a number of different reasons. Not just because football's back, because we got a couple of revenge games for quarterbacks in Week 1. Baker going against the Browns. Wilson going against the Seahawks. Some revenge on the line for both of them. We'll stick around through the end of this draft, go to our lobby, and actually take a look at our roster, make that IR move. Remember, suspended players cannot be put in your IR spot. Najee, Pitts, and Kirk. Ooh. Debo is. Oh. Debo was going to be one of my favorite players in fantasy this year. But you're getting back Najee, so you're upgrading by a lot at running back. Kirk should be a serviceable wide receiver. And Pitts is obviously an upgrade. Yeah, I'd imagine so. And I get my kicker, McManus. Nice. Dang. What's the rest of your receivers look like? Oh, there goes Pickens. Dang it. I was hoping he would make it to free agency so I could pick him up. Darn you, Roll Tide. Well, let's go ahead and go to the team. Judy, Lazard, and Lockett. Ouch. I think I'd have to turn it down. I would probably just resubmit the offer for Pitts and Kirk for Fournette and Kmet. Just take Debo and Najee out of it and see if he'll do that. Now we moved Gallup to IR. Let's see the players that are left here. Noah Fant, not really exciting me. Nobody really awesome catching my eye. Let's look at the flex spot. I mean, I like Hayden Hurst as a tight end, but I've got Ertz there. McKinnon, AJ Green, Marlon Mack, KJ Osborne. Let's look at the plus minuses of a bunch of them. Rex Burkhead, Julio Jones. Nobody really exciting there. Let's go with highest projected total. Rondell Moore. Doesn't do anything for me. Hooper. Nothing here is really eye-popping for me. I could take a guy like Deshaun Watson and just sit him on my bench for 13 weeks. I don't like to do that though, but there's really nobody else that's really interesting to me. So what I could do is plan ahead for when I do need to stream my defense, say in week 3. So let's go ahead and go over to the NFL schedule. Week 3, I'm going to keep the Broncos defense, I believe, in week 2. Looking at week 3, the defenses. The Cowboys play the Giants, decent. Bengals play at the Jets, decent. Bears and Texans, that's just ugly. Falcons and Seahawks, that's ugly. Chargers at home against Jacksonville. Maybe. That might be the best option. San Diego. Are the San Diego Chargers defense in here? No. Broncos that week are going to be playing the 49ers. No thank you. Bears play the Texans. So probably the Jets versus Bengals defense game might work a little bit better. Nobody else is really eye-popping. Panthers at home versus the Saints. Could be a good defensive effort there by the Panthers. Who are the Browns going up against in week 3? Against the Steelers at home on Thursday Night Football. Steelers defense looks like it's gone. I think I'll take the Panthers defense and just sit them on my bench until week 3. So that's kind of where I'll go with that for now, at least, since I like to stream my defenses. But overall, let's kind of look at the roster, see if there's anything else I could do differently. Elijah Mitchell, go ahead and plug him into the lineup, I think, for Courtland Sutton. Week 1, running backs usually perform very well. Week 2, 3, 4, 5, wide receivers start to take their whole foothold anyway, so we'll go ahead and keep him in. Looking at the receiver spot, Jefferson projected for 18, Moore for 14.5. I do have a very good option here, though, in Sutton. Should Mitchell not look game ready anyway for week 1. There we go. There's the roster. Let's go ahead and flip it back to the beginning. See if we can join another league here in just a moment. Appreciate you guys joining us. If you're just joining us for the first time, hit that like button. It really does help us out. Definitely hit that subscribe button. As soon as we reach that 1,000, when we do cross that point at some point this year, that's when we'll finally be able to do a lot more content for you guys. So if you haven't hit that check mark already, or hit that subscribe button, please do so. You can follow us on Twitter at UpsideSN. You can see those down at the bottom of the page, right down there. Looks like the internet may be, or at least their site might not be working as well. But we'll go ahead and stop there for a minute. We'll go ahead and do part 2 here in about 20-30 minutes or so, maybe closer to 8 o'clock. Go ahead and have some dinner. You guys go ahead and take a break, have some fun. Check on your kids if you got kids, all those kinds of things. But we'll be back right at about 8 o'clock and do part 2 of Fantasy here tonight for you guys. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys shortly. Appreciate you guys' support, and as always, remember to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys here in about 50 minutes or so at about 8 o'clock.